Hello, Cindy. I'm the architect.
George Carlin's career went through many evolutions, people pleaser, spoken word hippie to raging renegade. But one thing that never wavered was the rhythm in his delivery, the music behind the language, and the drum beat that gave his material pulse. It's fascinating watching him integrate the tricks and rhythm of his earlier material into the darkness of his best work. So let's track how Carlin's use of rhythm started and evolved to make even the most incendiary material sing.
To hell with it.
Carlin grew up around music. He was surrounded by real rhythm and blues. He played xylophone as a boy, trumpet in high school, was a radio DJ before he started performing stand-up, plays piano throughout his career, and he won't stop singing.
Seen enough fancies to last a lifetime, going away no more.
He even said rock musicians shaped his development in the 60s more than comedians.
I love music. I'm musical. See, I use that adjective for myself. I'm musical. I'm not musically talented. That's different. I'm musical. It means if you hit me in the head with a pipe, I make a noise.
Carlin became one of stand-up's greatest voices, but growing up he was more interested in singers, Danny Kaye, and verbal gymnastics.
First of all, I was attracted to any complicated songs I heard on the radio. I learned about Pass That Peace Pipe and Bury That Hatchet like the Choctaws, Chickasaws, Chattahoochee, Chippewas, and those Chickchammacks, Cherokees, Chapultepec's do. Anything like that was challenging verbally, I liked.
Pass that peace pipe and bury that hatchet like the Choctaws, Chickasaws, Chattahoochees, Chippewas, and those Chickchammacks, Cherokees, Chapultepec's, and those Chicoutamis, Chepachets, and Chickasaws, Choctaws, Tangos, Chattanoogas, Featuros,
And Danny Kaye did that. He was musically funny, he could sing funny songs. He was incredibly adept verbally. He could do those lyrics. And I said, I can do that. I can do that. And I used to write to Sylvia Fine to try to get Danny Kaye's lyrics. I never got an answer. I didn't know they were married. And I said, dear Miss Fine, please send me Get Giddle. I want to learn this and do it at school and stuff. And I just loved the verbal facility. I said, this is something I want, I can do, and I didn't know what form mine would take.
If people unsuspecting now accept without detecting an imposter who's not posted as a pedigreed inspector, could this palpable imposter say a gypsy or a Costa? Could he possibly get past them by his posture?
See, that's the Danny Kaye part of my genes, to be really good with language and to put it into kind of interesting sounding bits and snatches and runs and trills and things. And so I've kind of gotten that, the intricate verbal pyrotechnics, Boy, he was fabulous.
Whisking through the whispering woods on a wild Romany pony, with a yak 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 and a yak cedrak and a yak cedrak cedroni, rides the gypsy, the gypsy, the gypsy, the gypsy.
This love of music shaped his early material. One of his breakout routines, Wonderful Wino Radio, finds him in charge of a made-up radio station, voicing the DJ, singers, adverts, and news presenters.
Wonderful Wino Radio! Wonderful Wino! Yeah, welcome to the Willie West Show here on a wonderful Wednesday with your winter spinner, Weird Willie West. Winging your way with 101 wild and woolly wedges of wax and quazy waggons to play on the radio!
The connection to music is obvious, but what's most interesting is watching Carlin collide different rhythms together, getting laughs from sudden changes between singing and talking, the formal and casual, sometimes interrupting himself mid-sentence.
Another big romantic ballad for you kids. And bulletin, 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 bulletin. Here is a bulletin, bulletin, bulletin. Russia and the United States are at war. Missiles have been fired by both sides. Washington and Moscow are in flames. Details in 25 minutes, kids, on Action Century News.
Throughout the 70s, his use of rhythm is on full display. FM and AM, Class Clown and Occupation Fool feature extended set pieces that involve singing to the audience directly.
Class Clown was the first to discover a lot of musical things. He was the first one to get into Hawaiian nose humming, right? Come on, oh shit, man, you're supposed to come in there, man.
Or blending spoken word and stand-up together.
They see hair down to there, say beware, and go off on a tear. I say no fair. A head that's bare is really nowhere. So be like a bear. Be fair with your hair. Show it you care. Wear it to there, or to there, or to there if you dare.
Now, part of my brain triggers the beat poet cringe alarm.
Julia, Rob hurts!
Comedy has evolved beyond these tricks and gimmicks. Carlin said his early work was his inner child looking for the approval of adults, and you can see that. He is trying to impress us. In some routines, like Wonderful Wino, it pays off. There's a fantastic freedom and play, like a great magic trick, it holds up remarkably well. Others, like the hair poem, feel dated and desperate to impress. But throughout this period, you can feel him finding the range of his abilities, which enabled him to employ these techniques more subtly and effectively later in his career. If one thing stands out during this period, it's constant exploration. He was never simply a verbal comic, always playing with different sounds, styles, and noises. In one bit, he puts the mic next to his throat so the audience can hear him gulp. His impressions of everyday items bordered on Michael Winslow.
The bleeps.
The mastery that he had of dynamics and volume and where he had the mic and bringing his voice up and bringing it down, and he had an incredible, like, broadcaster.
We've met on the radio dial.
Voice.
First of all, in the center of the
when
dial.
He would imitate the sound of turning the dial. On the, do all of that stuff.
800.
Whatever he turned his focus to, you were going at it at light speed.
We met in the center of that dial.
And he just eviscerated it.
And then we get down lower and lower, down to the hopelessness of 55.
Carlin was a fastidious performer. Words were his forte.
I've always been an ordered and left-brain person about performance, worried to the point of obsession that every detail has been taken care of, is precisely in place.
But the way they were arranged to sound was just as important. This clip from the Midnight Special is brilliant.
Words are so boss. There go a few now. 5 of them. There's 3. There's 2. There's 2. There's 2. Words are out of sight.
You get this nonchalant, floaty delivery contrasted with incredible precision and awareness. Even as he's tying up his hair, he's making you rethink everything you're hearing, bringing your attention right down to the rhythm and number of words. At the start of his set, it's a fantastic tone setter, making the audience hyper-aware that beneath the hippie facade is a calculated technician. Another example creeps up in 1984 Carlin on Campus, where he crafted a kind of comic poetry, jumbling lines from the Lord's Prayer with the Pledge of Allegiance. Yet the joke wouldn't work if it weren't for the subtle changes to his tone and intonation, cluing the audience where to laugh.
Our Father who art in heaven, and to the republic for which it stands. Thy kingdom come, one nation, indivisible, as it is in heaven. Give us this day as we forgive those who so proudly we hail. And crown thy good into temptation, but deliver us from the twilight. Amen.
As his career progressed, Carlin gained total mastery over juxtaposing extremes. Sudden shifts from high to low.
There are no numbers up in the sky. I've looked. They're not there.
Fast to
slow.
I find it staggering how quickly Carlin could speak, able to speed up or slow down as if adjusting a dial, spitting out a setup insanely quickly before digging into a punchline.
Suppose you're in a bar and one guy's sitting over on the side reading a book, not bothering anybody, another guy standing up at the front with a machete, banging it on the bar, saying, "I'll kill the next motherfucker who comes in here." Who are you gonna watch?
So everything's happening at once. Radio, windshield, rain, traffic, everything going on. And you're just trying to get across town and take care of something, you know. And you get over there and park the car, turn off the key and go inside, take care of the business, and you come out and you turn on the key.
And the goddamn radio is this loud!
Sometimes he'll repeat the same pitch over and over, then hover, pause, or inflect.
Where would we be without our safe, familiar American bullshit? Land of the free, home of the brave, the American dream. All men are equal, justice is blind, the press is free, your vote counts.
And he'd get that really, and he did all the way up to the highs and the low.
Football is concerned with downs. What down is it?
Baseball is concerned with ups. Who's up? Are you up? I'm not up. He's up.
Because when you're little, your life is up. The future is up. Everything you want is up. Wait up, hold up, shut up. He personified that thing that you see when you're young and you go, that's it, that's the thing. And I wanted to be just like him, getting every word in the right spot. Because when he did it, it thrilled me. I wanted that skill, and I've spent my life pursuing it.
And you would set about disrupting the class by
attracting attention to yourself.
That is the name of this job, you know. It's called Dig Me. Yeah, it was like, hey guys, didn't make the team, but...
Yeah. The culmination of his early specials is 1978 Carlin on Location. Again, it shows Carlin at his most theatrical, his vocal delivery matched by his physical performance. If you watch him move, he's always in rhythm with the jokes, crouching down or standing on his tiptoes depending on his pitch. Every note in his voice complemented by a posture or glance. Look how his body and voice are totally aligned in his delivery here.
Yes, you get so popular when you die. All the flowers you get, think of the flowers you get when you die. You get more flowers when you die than you got in your whole life. All your flowers arrive at once, too late.
Note how much air he puts into the all to really make sure his point is clear, standing up before swooping down and turning towards the camera. Contrast this to the sudden shift in tone at the punchline, high to low, complemented by a wonderful piece of physical comedy, deflating like a popped balloon. The crumpling of the shoulders, the wilted expression, the sad downward eyes. I have caught myself singing this final phrase. The first part has a soft melody, almost like a nursery rhyme. All your flowers arrive at once. Da 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 da. The final couple words cut through that in a really satisfying way. Too late.
All your flowers arrive at once, too late.
Don't forget, what we do is oratory. It's rhetoric. It's not just comedy, it's a form of rhetoric. And with rhetoric, you look and you listen for rhythms. You look for ways to sing at the same time you're talking, and to go da-da-doon, 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 doon-doon, and doon, da-doon, doon, 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 da-da-doon, 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 da-da-doon. And it's just natural.
The 7 words you can never say on television, arguably Carlin's most famous routine, became one of his most musical. Carlin performed this routine on numerous albums and HBO specials, making different riffs and changes on each, expanding a fairly casual 7-minute routine on Class Clown into a 25-minute tour de force on George Carlin again.
Those are the ones that'll infect your soul, curve your spine, and keep the country from winning the war. Those are the ones that'll curve your spine, grow hair on your hands, and maybe even bring us, God help us, peace without honor.
You can hear the routine evolve across multiple albums. Even the year gap between 1977 and 78 show a dramatic improvement in his rhythm, pacing, and timing. Take this section.
They found an awful lot of ways to refer to them, and I did too. Called them bad language. Dirty, filthy, foul, vile, vulgar, coarse, unseemly, in poor taste, street language, locker room talk, gutter talk, barracks language.
It feels slow, like he's struggling to remember what comes next. He takes the same length pause between each word, which makes it feel predictable and dull. You can feel Carlin struggling to transition from the casual conversational tone of his earlier albums into a more commanding stage presence. Compare this to 1978.
Filthy, foul, vile, vulgar, coarse, in poor taste, unseemly, street talk, gutter talk, locker room language, barracks talk, bawdy, naughty, saucy, raunchy, rude, crude, lewd, lascivious, indecent, profane, obscene, blue, off-color.
There's so much more flow here. He's really chopping and changing his pace and finding melodies within the language. Like when he compiles 2-syllable words, then 1-syllable words before using the l sound in lewd to launch into the textured complexity of lascivious. Comparing these snippets is night and day.
Street language,
locker room talk, gutter talk, street talk, gutter talk, locker room language.
The 1977 version takes nearly 4 seconds. The phrase street language is clunky and gets caught in the mouth. He then says talk twice at the end, which makes the final phrase less surprising. 1978 is nearly a second faster and sounds so much better. He bounces from the consonant T's of street talk, gutter talk into the rounded ooh and ah sounds of locker room language. Lovely.
Risque. Suggestive, cursing, cussing, swearing, and all I could think of was shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits.
Carlin updated the list of inappropriate words as time went on.
The list is open to amendment, and in fact has been changed by now. A lot of people pointed things out to me.
And then we added fart, turd, and twat, which also don't have other meanings. You know, twat's twat, and that's that.
Yet the order of the heavy 7, as he called them, remained untouched.
The reading of those 7 words, the way they were placed together, had a magnificent kind of a jazz feeling, a rhythm that was just very natural and satisfying, the way those syllables were placed together.
Even when someone said he should remove a particular word because it was the derivative of another word on the list, he kept it in, lamenting how it would kill the rhythm of the joke.
Now the list was shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, tits. Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, tits. Does it sound like something's missing? Does it sound like an old friend is gone? Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, tits. Remember the old rhythm? Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits. Cocksucker, motherfucker, tits. Cocksucker, motherfucker, tits. Cocksucker, motherfucker, tits. Now, shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, tits. It falls apart. It isn't going anywhere.
When do you know it'll work? I mean, only after you... Can you feel instinctively yourself?
You can. You'll be wrong 10 or 20% of the time. But the 10 or 20% of the time that you're wrong, it's because you're saying the idea wrong. You're couching...
It's the delivery rather than the idea.
Right. You haven't gotten the paragraph the way it should. The idea is pretty good, or you wouldn't have written it down and saved it all that time. But you haven't quite got it straight. And then you'll try. And one night by accident, it will happen the correct way, and then you save it.
But if it happens the correct way by accident?
I tape every show.
Oh, so that's how you know.
Yeah. After a good show, I stop and take a few notes and say, listen to X, listen to Y, listen to Z.
And do you tell by the audience or just what you feel or that's
the moment. It's the audience plus me. But you know, from the audience is the proof that it works. But you know in your heart, that's the way it ought to sound.
As Carlin got older, these theatrical inflections were replaced by something deeper, darker, and more propulsive. His final metamorphosis into the vitriolic philosopher detached from the human race. This delivery was a long time coming, hinted at in specials like Carlin at Carnegie, before fully forming in Jammin' in New York 10 years later. Of course, there was still clear use of rhythm and rhyme.
Everybody's gonna save something now. Save the trees, save the bees, save the whales, save those snails.
His spoken word piece, A Modern Man, gives Kendrick Lamar a run for his money.
I've been uplinked and downloaded, I've been inputted and outsourced. I know the upside of downsizing, I know the downside of upgrading. I interface with my database is in cyberspace, so I'm interactive, I'm hyperactive, and from time to time I'm radioactive.
But overall he became less showy. He lowered the register of his voice, thanks to the advice of his older brother Patrick, to align with the weight of the subject matter.
I think he became a more popular comedian in a way. He got a more popular voice, or populist perhaps I should say, through sort of returning to the friendship with his elder brother. And certainly Patrick contributed to that development of his voice in his sort of greatest period in the 91, 92. In his earlier performances, he had really sort of kind of a light tenor voice, a kind of hippie version of a light Irish tenor. But Patrick sort of deepened and broadened that voice into what eventually became George's signature sound.
Next guy says to me, bada boom, bada bing, is getting kicked right in the fucking nuts. Bada boom, motherfucker!
He actually seems to farewell his previous style of delivery directly in his autobiography.
The reason I prefer the sledgehammer to the rapier, and the reason I believe in blunt, violent, confrontational forms for the presentation of my ideas, is because I see what's happening to the lives of people is not rapier-like. It is not gentle, it is not subtle, it is direct, hard, and violent. And it's not sufficient to have a clever riposte, a witty song by the Capitol Steps. Fa la la, oh dear, the killing, hey dilly dilly dilly, doesn't do it for me. Fuck you cocksuckers is my approach.
He no longer glided across the stage, he stamped on it, his back permanently bent, probing, emphasizing, pressuring. But behind the delivery are the same rhythms, giving the jokes their crunch. Take this joke from Jammin' in New York about the durability of the planet.
Planet has been through a lot worse than us for a long time. Been through earthquakes, volcanoes, plate tectonics, continental drift, solar flares, sunspots, magnetic storms, the magnetic reversal of the poles, bombardments for hundreds of thousands of years by comets and asteroids and meteors, sandstorms, erosion of all kinds, cosmic radiation, worldwide fires, worldwide floods, recurring ice ages, and we think some aluminum cans and some plastic bags are going to make a difference? Planet isn't going anywhere. We are. We're going away. We're going away.
Carlin delivers an avalanche of events at a constant rhythm and speed, 18 individual phenomena in 46 words in 20 seconds. When he gets to humanity's contribution, he says 2 things over 10 words in 10 seconds. His neutral tone becomes a whine, dragging out the R sound in bags and cans to make them sound small and silly. The final repetition of "We're going away" has a singer's lilt, a light, inevitable tone, farewelling the human race as we drift into oblivion. Carlin played with word count a lot, in this case front-loading a joke with a bombardment of information to make the counterpoint stick out as pathetic and futile. In doing it again, he applies the same principle, but to create something far more complex.
There's a condition in combat, most people know about it. It's when a fighting person's nervous system has been stressed to its absolute peak and maximum, can't take any more input. The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap. In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock. Simple, honest, direct language, 2 syllables, shell shock. Almost sounds like the guns themselves. That was 70 years ago. Then a whole generation went by, and the Second World War came along, and the very same combat condition was called battle fatigue. 4 syllables now, takes a little longer to say, doesn't seem to hurt as much. Fatigue is a nicer word than shock. Shell shock, battle fatigue.
You effectively have 2 matching paragraphs, each a similar structure but with important differences. Notice in the setup his speed increases, replicating the feeling of overload punctuated by the clicking sound.
The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap.
The first paragraph is concise, 25 words and 14 seconds. When he gets to shell shock, his voice lowers. He adds emotion, making a fist on shell before driving forward with shock, as if replicating a weapon or piece of artillery. You then have a fantastic following sentence.
Simple, honest, direct language.
Each word has 2 syllables, the same as shell shock, creating a constant tempo. He then hammers this home through another repetition.
Shell shock. Almost sounds like the guns themselves.
This whole section has been written to reinforce the impact of the original phrase. Short, direct, and powerful. In the next paragraph, this impact is lost. You have the obvious change of emphasis, shell shock to battle fatigue, but the whole paragraph meanders. The word count doubles, and note how many words are filler. Instead of the rhythm of simple, honest, direct language, we get
4 syllables now, takes a little longer to say. Doesn't seem to hurt as much.
It's not 4 syllables, it's 4 syllables now. It takes a little longer to say. It doesn't seem to hurt as much. In the same way battle fatigue strips away the impact of shell shock, Carlin uses these extra words to remove the sense of urgency. The following sections do the same thing. The word count balloons, and look where Carlin places emphasis.
Hey, we're up to 8 syllables now. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen.
Meanwhile, the terms are delivered with bureaucratic detachment.
Operational exhaustion, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Throughout his career, Carlin attacked dehumanizing language used by those in power. Language, he said, that takes the life out of life. Throughout this routine, Carlin does the same thing, showing how the effort is placed not on caring for the soldiers, but burying their trauma under a mountain of jargon.
I'll bet you if we'd have still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time. I'll bet you that. I'll bet you that.
Repetition was one of Carlin's go-tos. It's hard to find a joke in the 90s where he doesn't repeat a key phrase 2-3 times in a joke to bury it in the audience's head. These repetitions also create flow and melody.
Even the name Bush, is related to the genitals without being the genitals.
Sometimes it wasn't the words, but the same rhythmic pattern making the joke resonate.
I drive kind of recklessly, I take a lot of chances, I never repair my vehicles, and I don't believe in traffic laws.
Listen to how he speaks in threes here, expanding for each punchline.
So I agree with that abstract, that males have pushed a technology that just about has this planet in a stranglehold. Mother Earth, raped again. Guess who? Hey, she was asking for it.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
Sometimes he'll set up a rhythm, then undercut it and play with it as the joke progresses. Check out this joke from his 1996 special, Back in Town.
Because, I mean, even with this stuff we preach about the sanctity of life, we don't practice it. We don't practice it. Look at what we kill. Mosquitoes and flies, because they're pests. Lions and tigers, because it's fun. Chickens and pigs, because we're hungry. Pheasants and quails, because it's fun. And we're hungry. And people, we kill people, because they're pests. And it's fun.
The first section he's setting the joke up, but the real melody kicks in here. He names a pair of animals, then he emphasizes. For pests, fun, and hungry, he provides a slightly different intonation that we'll remember.
Pests, fun, hungry.
These lines all have a total of 8 syllables. That's the melody. Now he can subvert it.
Pheasants and quails, 'cause it's fun.
Here we are a syllable less, only 7, and he slightly underemphasizes fun. 2 little cues that there's more to come.
And we're hungry.
He's now subverted the rhythm of the joke, a disruption that the audience intuitively finds funny.
Nice.
Again. Note how he's undercommitting, not quite throwing himself into these lines, which is building the tension for the real punchline of the joke.
And people, we kill people.
If he was following the melody, he'd say, and we kill people, but instead he breaks this final point into 2 sentences. The pitch of his voice goes up each time, and he takes a couple big pauses.
And people, we kill people.
He might as well have a sign above his head that says, pay attention. This is the big finale.
'Cause they're pests. And it's fun.
He really emphasizes this more than any of the previous times he said it. He scrunches his face, there's real venom. He bulges his eyes and exaggerates his posture. This booming finale signals the end of the joke. It really is a song. Carlin sets up a melody, then subverts it and plays with it, all while building to a climax.
It's the only one I know of, the only art form where the intended receiver of the art is present at the delivery, and the art form can be altered according to their appreciation of it as you go. Now, in my case, I don't change the words a lot, but they give me signals that gives me license to do more with my body, to do more with my face and my voice. So, except for a jazz musician who is also affected by his audience in an improv, everyone else is separated from their audience by time or space, or by an arrangement, or a key, or a tempo. Not the comedian. He gets to do this according to how they appreciate him.
Rat shit, bat shit, dirty old twat. 69 assholes tied in a knot. Hooray! Lizard shit, fought!
Now, despite all my love for Carlin, it's fair to say stand-up has outgrown this style of delivery. Comedy has become conversation, and Carlin was very much talking at you than with you.
The audience doesn't really figure into my plans. Here's the way I look at it. I'm here for me, you're here for me, and no one's here for you.
There aren't many comedians who can bow after finishing a routine like they've just finished a play.
I have no ending for this, so I take a small bow. Thank you.
On a personal note, I found his delivery, especially in the 80s, a bit grating. Throughout the 80s, Carlin's delivery became more aggressive, verging on pantomime at points. This worked magnificently in the 90s talking about serious issues, but in the 80s his material is pretty observational. Halfway through a 15-minute routine about driving or stuff, I was longing for the low-key charm of Class Clown or FM and AM, where he wasn't such a bombastic stage presence. There is also, by his own admission, indulgence. I don't think it's a coincidence that the years Carlin was creatively at sea, the late 70s into the early 80s, are where he's most self-absorbed. There's an inability to cut routines off at their climax, sometimes exploring the same premise to the point of total silence. Even George Carlin again, which I have a huge amount of respect for, has chunks that long overstay their welcome.
Not surprisingly, my sixth Little David album, On the Road, was directionless and unstructured, featuring the interminable death and dying routine. On the album it only ran 13 minutes, but on stage it ran 27 minutes. Talk about dying for 27 minutes. Should have given a seasoned comedian pause.
The comic's gonna die. I don't want to die. Jeez, I was dying out there. I was dying. It was death out there. And it was like a morgue. Oh, I don't want to die.
The biggest risk with Carlin is new comics will try to imitate his delivery without the perspective to back it up. Yes, Carlin was one of the most thought-provoking comedians of all time, but he wasn't always the funniest. Some of his most famous routines prioritized ideas over laughs.
There were considerable stretches when I wasn't getting laughs, but I didn't expect them. They were where there weren't any jokes. The laugh-free stretches were acceptable to me and to the audience because they were engaged, or more accurate, we were engaged.
This is a dangerous philosophy to have. Carlin didn't perform Jammin' in New York until he was 55. Until then, multiple decades were spent learning his craft. Just because you performed a 10-minute laughless rant at an open mic doesn't make you George Carlin. It makes you a bad comedian. This does little to take away Carlin's legacy. There is still so much to be learnt from him. He was the original conductor, the comic maestro that put the blueprint in place. So, do yourself a favour. Next time you watch a comedian, don't listen to the words. Listen to the music.
But he's like a great painter, like a Rembrandt of comedy. You know, there's Rembrandt and then this guy's doing a postcard of a sailboat.
I read something when I was still a comedian in the Greenwich Village, a friend of mine, Bob Altman. He told me about Arthur Koestler's act of creation. He showed a triptych, a 3-paneled illustration, and the jester was in the first triptych. And the jester is, of course, a person who makes jokes. He makes these funny jokes. But if he has ideas attached, if the jokes are built on sound ideas, if there's something philosophical in his thinking that the jokes illuminate, then he's a bit of a philosopher too. So he goes to the second part of the triptych. Jester becomes jester-philosopher now. And if he does those things with marvelous language, language that thrills us, particularly graceful combinations of words and runs and rhythms of language, then he becomes a poet as well. And so the jester has become a philosopher poet, and he's all one. I think I can now do a little justice to that theory. And now I feel fully realized as a performing writer.
All people are afraid. No one knows what they're doing. Everything is getting worse. Some people deserve to die. Your money is worthless. No one is properly dressed. At least one of your children will disappoint you. The system is rigged. Your house will never be completely clean. All teachers are incompetent. There are people who really dislike you. Nothing is as good as it seems. Things don't last. No one is paying attention. The country is dying. God doesn't care. Shh.